The air was thick with tension as the gang stared at the distant Ferris wheel, its rusted metal creaking as it turned slowly on its own. And just below it, two glowing red eyes flickered in the darkness, Scooby's tail tucked between his legs. Reggie, I don't like this. Shaggy, already backing up, shook his head violently. Me neither, buddy. This is where we run for our lives. No one's running yet. Fred narrowed his eyes. We're getting close to figuring this out. Daphne crossed her arms. You keep saying that, but so far we've been nearly drowned, chased through a tunnel, and now a Ferris wheel is moving without electricity. What part of this makes sense? Velma adjusted her glasses, taking a deep breath. The bell. Everyone turned to her. Every time the bell rings, something happens. It controls the ghost, or at least makes it appear. Shaggy threw up his hands. Great. So all we have to do is make sure it never rings again. Problem solved. Let's go home. Velma ignored him, staring at the Ferris wheel. But what if the ghost isn't really a ghost? What if the bell is connected to something mechanical? A signal? A trigger? Fred's eyes lit up. Like a remote control. Exactly. Velma nodded. If we can figure out how it works, we can stop it. Daphne glanced at the red eyes, still glowing in the darkness. Okay, but what about that? Suddenly, the lights in the park flickered, casting eerie shadows across the flooded ground. Then, the ghost clown emerged from behind the Ferris wheel. Shaggy let out a yelp. He's back! Scooby jumped straight into his arms. Run! But instead of chasing them, the ghost floated toward the center of the park, straight toward an old funhouse, half submerged in the dark waters. Velma's brain went into overdrive. That's it. He's leading us somewhere. Fred nodded. Then let's follow him. Shaggy groaned. Why do we always follow the ghosts? Why can't we ever follow, like, a pizza delivery guy? Despite his protests, the gang carefully made their way toward the abandoned funhouse, stepping across old, half-rotten walkways. The ghost clown drifted through the entrance, disappearing inside. Daphne shivered. I have a really bad feeling about this. Fred led the way inside. The moment they stepped in, the door slammed shut behind them. "Gee, guys," Shaggy stammered. "We're trapped." Then, the funhouse came to life. The mirrors lining the walls began to glow, reflecting distorted images of the gang. But something was wrong. Their reflections weren't just moving. They were smiling back at them, even though no one was smiling. Scooby whined, hiding behind Velma. Velma studied the mirrors carefully. These mirrors, they're projectors. Fred ran his hand along the edges of one of them. Someone's been using them to create the ghost illusions. Daphne stepped forward, watching as the ghost clown's reflection appeared in one of the mirrors. Then where's the real one? Velma squinted at the reflection. That's just it. I don't think there is a real one. I think it's... Before she could finish, the floor beneath them trembled. The ground tilted violently, sending them sliding down a hidden trapdoor. Shaggy screamed. I knew this place was a trap. The gang tumbled down a dark, twisting chute, landing hard on a damp wooden floor below. Fred groaned, sitting up. Everyone okay? Daphne coughed, brushing dust from her jacket. I've been better. Velma gasped. Look. The gang turned to see something shocking. A control room filled with monitors, old sound equipment, and strange mechanical devices. And standing in the middle of it was Wallace Greaves. Shaggy blinked. Oh, wait, he's not a ghost. Wallace turned to face them, looking startled. What are you kids doing here? This place isn't safe. Fred crossed his arms. We could say the same to you. What is all this? Velma stepped forward, pointing at the equipment. You've been controlling the ghost clown, haven't you? Wallace sighed, rubbing his forehead. It's complicated. Daphne glared, then started explaining. Wallace hesitated, then finally nodded. All right, but you're not gonna like what you hear. Wallace Greaves sat heavily in the dusty control room, surrounded by old monitors, rusted switches, and tangled wires. The gang stood around him, waiting for the truth. All right, I'll tell you everything. Velma crossed her arms. We're listening. Wallace sighed. Funland Park was my home. I worked here for 30 years, keeping it alive while everyone else forgot about it. When the flood came, the owners walked away without a second thought. But the flood revealed something nobody expected. Fred frowned. What was it? Wallace pulled down an old blueprint from the wall, pointing at a section beneath the Ferris wheel. This park was built over an old Civil War town. There's a vault buried deep below rumored to hold gold and lost treasures. The flood uncovered part of it, but before I could investigate, word started spreading. Daphne's eyes widened. So you created the ghost clown legend to scare people away? Wallace nodded. If treasure hunters found out, the corporation that owns the land would take everything. I had to keep them away long enough to find it myself. Shaggy's jaw dropped. So we got chased, almost drowned, and spooked out of our minds over gold? Velma pushed her glasses up her nose. The bell was the key, wasn't it? Wallace sighed. It was a remote trigger. Every time I rang it, it activated holograms, water projections, and sound effects all over the park. The floating ghost, the shadowy hands, the laughter, it was all an illusion. Scooby shivered. Rut, it felt real. Shaggy threw up his arms. Yeah, that boat actually sank. Wallace hesitated. That wasn't supposed to happen. Fred raised an eyebrow. Then what caused it? Before Wallace could answer, bang! A loud metallic crash echoed from outside. Fred turned to the monitors. Someone else is out there. The gang rushed out of the control room, following the sound of digging near the Ferris wheel. Under the dim park lights, a figure in a raincoat was shoveling into the soaked ground. Daphne gasped. Mr. Langley? The former park manager spun around, startled. You kids shouldn't be here. Fred narrowed his eyes. Neither should you. Velma stepped forward. You knew about the gold, didn't you? Langley scowled. I suspected Wallace was up to something. When I saw him setting up his ghost tricks, I realized what he was doing, so I decided to use it against him. Daphne frowned. That's why you pretended to be the ghost earlier. You rang the bell to scare us away while you searched for the treasure. Langley smirked, and I would have gotten away with it too. Before he could finish, police sirens blared in the distance. Fred grinned. Looks like that won't be happening. Langley turned to run, but tripped over Scooby's outstretched paw. Thud. Daphne giggled. Nice work, Scooby. Scooby wagged his tail. Ropes. The police arrived, arresting Langley while Wallace sat on a nearby bench, looking defeated. I should have just let the park go. Fred patted his shoulder. You made mistakes, but you weren't the real villain here. Velma nodded ... And now, Funland Park can finally move on. Shaggy stretched. Speaking of moving on, can we leave now? I need a burger, fries, and a milkshake to recover from all this. Scooby licked his lips. Ruh, and a Scooby snack. The gang laughed as they headed back to the Mystery Machine, leaving Funland Park and its ghostly legend behind for good.
Trembling knees are weak, but a Scooby snack will do the trick. Scooby-Doo, where are you? Monsters, ghosts, and clues to pursue. Zoinks and jinkies, what will we do? Stick with the gang, we'll pull it through.